So hi everyone, it's Peter Vicari here. I just wanted to introduce the next video, which is the windows, JennyJ's windows. They're very old. The perspex, I suspect, hasn't been replaced at all since she was new in 1990, and they're crazed and you can hardly see through them in certain lights, and they look pretty shabby and grotty. So I decided, it's a fairly big project, to get them reconditioned by Jean-Pierre up at Hadley Marine in Kent, and or maybe it's East Sussex, but anyway, it's over that way. And I'm going to take them up there to get them sorted out. It is mid-November. I'm making this introduction after I've done the removal of the windows, but this is an introduction to explain what I did, and you'll see it go through the process of kind of assessing what was needed before I tried to take them out, making sure I had everything in place so that when I did take them out I could protect the window apertures so that I couldn't get any moisture into the boat, make sure she's going to be really kind of sound and sealed, if you like, whilst they are being renovated, which would take 4 to 6 weeks or so during the winter months. So it needs to be, I need to do it carefully. I don't want to kind of get the boat wet inside, and I'm trying to keep it better than not wet. I'm trying to keep it really dry in there so that she doesn't deteriorate at all, and it's much more enjoyable to work on her in the winter if you're inside and the boat's actually dry inside as well as probably cold. But anyway, that's the plan. That's what I'll be showing you, and you'll see how I've progressed and made that happen. And so we'll dive straight into that in a sec. So it's back to the windows project, and the next step is to create some temporary wooden blanks to go in the spaces where the windows come out, and so that's what I'm doing now. I just cut 4 of these. They're all exactly the same. They fit over the window spaces okay, and I'm just kind of finishing them a bit, sanding them down, and then they will have, I'm going to make some battens, probably something like this, 3 or 4 each window space, to bolt through and hold on from on the inside. It'll be bolted through to hold this in place, and then there'll be some sealing around the inside of this to keep the weather out. And I've got to also seal the edges of this blanking piece too, probably with some epoxy, which I bought a while back. It's fairly basic stuff. I've got some catalyst here to mix with the epoxy resin, and it needs to be 1 to 2%, and it's very temperature dependent, which is why I've got that little thermometer on the right there. I had to get a bit approximate with the whole thing. It's very difficult to be really accurate with the way I'm doing this, but and then this is the second round of painting these boards, but I'm just mixing it up, making sure I've got at least a decent approximation of the amounts needed for the temperature I'm working in. The first round I kind of mixed too much, and it ended up going off too quickly, so I couldn't finish. So here we go with the second lot, and because I've not really done this before, painting epoxy, but it's when you get it right, it does work really well. I'm only doing 1 coat. Painted on, particularly paying attention to the edges and one side, what's going to be the outside, as long as there's a bit of epoxy around the back, it's not critical. The important thing is that the layers of ply don't come apart. That's the bit that really matters. In the kind of month or so, I'm guessing that these are going to be on the boat. So I'm doing, it's an investigation at this point. I'm not intending today to take these windows out because I didn't want to kind of end up in a situation where I get them half out or do something which compromises the weatherproofing until I'm really ready to take them out and cover the spaces properly. This is really investigating how I can get them, how far I can get to get them out, if you like. What tools I needed. I tried screwdriver, I tried a knife, it didn't work. I called Jean-Pierre and he very kindly told me, this is the way to do it. Use a decorator's scraper like this, but round the corners off. You may notice that I've filed them down so that they're not a sharp edge on the corners of the scraper, but the blade itself is fairly sharp still, so it really gets in that tiny gap between the aluminium and the gel coat without doing any damage. And I'm showing you this in a little detail just because it goes right hard up against the aluminium extrusion that goes into the aperture where it goes through the coach roof. So I'm cutting it right down to the aluminium as you can see. And getting underneath is a little more tricky. You've seen I started that process. So I came down a day or two later to keep going with the project and found actually at Delkey itself they're craning out various boats for the winter. So I wandered along and had a quick look. Quite interesting to see what they were doing. There is a bit of an omission from the video side, unfortunately, as I was doing this project, and that is to show you removing the inner frame, the inside frame, which isn't there anymore. You can see it's still in place on the aft one, and to be honest, once all the screws have been taken out from the outside, it's actually really quite easy to remove the inner frame. And here I'm experimenting with cutting from the inside to get to the back of the aluminium, on the surface, and tried the scraper. It's quite, it's reasonably sharp, but it was a bit of a struggle to cut through from using that. I ended up using basically a Stanley knife to cut, and that was pretty straightforward really on the whole. And that's what I've used for all of the rest of the windows. So this first window, the port forward one, was obviously a bit of a slower process, but I got there. You can hear me tapping away on the outside, continue to cut. And here we are kind of getting a technique up to cut underneath the bottom, because the blade obviously won't go up vertically from underneath. I have to cut it from the side. I think the top of the blade here is travelling, hopefully, hard up against the aluminium where it goes through the top sides here, the coach roof, sorry. All this rope here is just to keep the rather lightweight tarpaulin from escaping in the wind. I mentioned that Jean-Pierre also was lamenting the fact that Moody seemed to change the methods by which they assemble these windows, boat to boat and possibly even within any one boat. So what I'm doing here may not apply for everybody in the same way, but it's obviously going to help some. I'm just literally going to, you can see I'm cutting this mastic, or it almost just seems like, you know, bathroom sealant. I don't know what it is. Whoever put it in, I think Jean-Pierre said it's the wrong stuff, but if you look, when I push, you can see daylight coming in now. We're definitely getting it freed up. I think the top is fairly free. Another thing I should have brought is a dust sheet to collect all of this stuff, but anyway. There we go, it's beginning to go. It's going. Look at that. Got it out. I am chuffed. Okay, so what I've got now is this blanking piece, which I've made, as you saw earlier. On the inside I've put this kind of door seal stuff that you can just stick on around the aperture, which I've marked, and I've given it a bit of a kind of roof shape so that any water that does drop down onto here should drain off. It's going to be compressed reasonably well, so hopefully with the tarpaulin and this, we should be pretty dry inside for the next month or so, I hope. And here's just an example of one of the battens I've made to hold it against the frame. There's 3 of them, and that's what's going to go on there. So this goes in here, and I just have to go down below and fit the battens. Just a little bit on the aft windows here, and I'm in the heads. There's a little piece of trim that was up in the corner here, which unscrews and comes out relatively easily. A little bit, I have to kind of ease it out from here with the head linings a little bit loose, but that all comes out okay. And above the chart table, I don't know whether these are done in different ways for different boats, but this is just pinned in here in the corner. You can see the pins at the back, and literally I just eased it off and it came away, because obviously the challenge here is that this outside piece needs to come away. This outside piece here needs to come away and come through that gap, I'm guessing. So I'll see what happens when I tackle that after taking the screws out. Okay, so I've got unscrewed the window frame and managed to get the inside of it off here. it is very reluctant to come through the available space between the bulkhead and the outer frame. So I'm wondering whether this, I'm going to have to leave it here while I get the window out, the outer window, the main window out, and then when I reassemble it I might have to put it back like this and reintroduce the window in order to get it all back in again. So it could just be a bit of a jigsaw puzzle doing that. I've got I don't know yet. It certainly seems to be reluctant to come through. I just can't get it past this. So I've got the aft and forward port windows done now, and they're blanking pieces in. Sealed, hopefully, from the weather. This, excuse the cack-handed way I'm doing this, because I'm holding my phone in one hand, and I'm just doing what I did with the windows, just levering this out. This side, on the starboard side, doesn't have the electrics behind this little panel in the stern cabin and the aft cabin, so this piece probably has never come out, or if it hasn't come out, so this piece has probably never been out before. So I'm just kind of trying to lever it away. Hopefully, it seems to be coming. Quite whether I'll get it out without damaging anything. I think it's not glued. I think it's just these little pins here and here. There's another one there. I think that's it. And up here, I'll see how that comes. And the same will apply here in the galley side. Again, I've got to bring that out there. So hopefully this will come out, because without that, again, you know, this is this frame. I need to be able to get the outside frame unscrewed, and then this has got to come away. Obviously these have got to come out in order to do that. So this join here as well, I'm going to just, because it seems very reluctant to come away, it's starting to lift the veneer, I'm going to just score into this join, and hopefully that'll just release the veneer there. But it is coming away, as you can see, you need to come away, so it's doable. Coming again. Got the other one, by the way. Got the other one off. It's a bit dark in here, but yeah, got that one off. It was all right. Didn't break anything. Oh, here it is. It's all intact. Just the little pins holding it in place. She'll obviously get out and yeah. Sorry about the wobbly video, but I haven't really got time to put my tripod up on the proper camera. Yeah, it's just easy. Yeah, well, there it is. It came off pretty much undamaged. It was definitely reluctant, but it's okay. It's okay. It's not been cracked or bent anything. Yeah, I think it's all fine. And that's what's behind. You know, it's interesting. You can see, or you can feel, it's a decent piece of timber. So fine and good integrity. Everything up here seems good too, which is all good news. So I'm just preparing everything to start doing these starboard side windows now. This is the starboard forward window, and you can see that this area here is actually wet. It's obviously where it has leaked, and it's been a place where I've always had water coming in, so it's interesting to see. And you actually can see it's a little bit stained, the headlining there, and we used to get water dripping down under sail, sometimes heading into, you know, heavy weather, when water coming over the boat. It doesn't often leak when it's just rained, but see, it gets wet there, and that is really interesting, and is where it's obviously failed. Yeah, so getting this blade up underneath, of course, is quite tricky, but once you get it started, you can run it all the way along the bottom, just hammering at the back of it, and it just keeps going along. Need to guide it with my hand a bit, but that's the idea. At the top it's easier because you can just knock it straight down, and just go straight down to the top of the inset piece of aluminium underneath. But underneath it, you can't get up from underneath properly, so just sliding it along seems to work fine. So having worked around the whole thing, top and bottom, and having pushed it a little bit from the inside at the top a little while back, now I've finished on the outside. It should now be ready to come away now, I'm sure, when I give it a little gentle push at the top, ease it along, it should come away. Here we are, the starboard forward window from the inside, showing the little screw holes where the mastic, or whatever you want to call it, held it in place against the outside of the boat, against the coach roof. And there's the inside frame, which, I mean, it's relatively easy to come off, but you know, once you've unscrewed the outside, you can just ease this off, and it comes off relatively, you know, it needs a little bit of leverage behind the headline. You've got to kind of get a screwdriver behind there without damaging things, just ease it off, and that seemed to work okay. So there we are, there it is. And on the outside, just so that you can see, yeah, that's what it's looking like on the outside. No damage, just screw holes and some work to do to tidy it all up before the new ones, the newly revived windows, go back in. Anyway, yeah. Little view of the boatyard. It's a very lovely sunny afternoon in November. Yeah, very pleasant day to come down and work on the boat, that's for sure. Yeah, there's the forward starboard blank to get ready to go in with its door seals, draft excluder, that's what it is. And finally, the 3-meter square tarpaulin to keep the weather off until the renovated windows arrive. Boom!